Now, one of the countries that NIO has been wanting to penetrate is the US, but it appears that it has become more difficult for NIO to penetrate the US. I mean, just a couple of months, you will know that the US imposed 100% tariff increase on to the Chinese companies that want to sell their cars in the US, which is something that is not pretty good. And knowing NIO's potential in the US, it makes the investors not to really like what is unfolding in the US. But thank God, last night when Trump was talking during the Republican National Convention, or RNC, he indicated that he does not mind that China builds the factories in the US as long as they employ the US workers. This is a good sign, or this signals that should Trump win the elections, then it should be easier for Chinese companies to go and build factories and start selling in the US. I mean, like I'm saying, there's no doubt that a company like NIO will not do well in the US. The companies like NIO are meant to do very well because they've got a lot and lots of followers in the US. And personally, I think that should Trump win, it should be easier for NIO to penetrate the US market, which I look forward to. I think this, what Trump wants, it might not be as difficult as the kind of difficulty that NIO is experiencing now under the Biden administration, which is good news to all of us, because I think NIO can really sell way much better than Europe in the US, which is something that when Trump, or if Trump wins, then this is good news. It's another catalyst that will unlock so many of the NIO sales outside of China. So I was happy when I saw that Mr. Trump indicated that he does not mind Chinese companies to come build their factories in the US, provided they employ the US workers. I think this might be a solution or a way for NIO to penetrate the US. I'm very much excited about this, and I just thought I share this with you. This is important because it will unlock more sales that NIO could deliver in the US. I mean, with sub-brands coming, it would mean that NIO can easily maybe build one factory that will not only be producing the NIO cars, but it will also be producing their other sub-brand models like Envo and Firefly, which that I think it's doable. NIO just have to find probably a partner, not even a partner, they can do that by themselves, but also it would be easier for them to get a partner so that at least they can maybe share the liability that will come with the deployment of that factory. So I'm happy about this, and the future looks bright under Trump's administration, and I look forward to the elections outcomes where we see, of course, Trump becoming, or Mr. Trump becoming victorious, as this will open so many doors. I mean, you will remember that the rally that we saw during the pandemic, it was under, of course, Trump's administration, and under the Biden administration, unfortunately, yeah, Chinese equities, Chinese companies or foreign companies like NIO, they are not doing well because unfortunately the EV penetration even in the US, it's not as aggressive. The Biden administration is not as aggressive on the EV side or in the EV penetration in the US, but whereas on the other side, Mr. Trump is prioritizing it. The first thing that is going to do, or some of these priorities, is to, of course, revive this fast-growing EV industry in the US, giving support, which is something that will definitely open door or create a door for companies or EV companies like NIO. So I'm happy about all this, and I think the US, once NIO starts selling in the US, then the US will obviously sell way more than the kind of cars that NIO will be selling in Europe. I mean, at the moment, the competition, there's not much competition in the US, which is what the NIO CEO said, that because there's not much competition like what we are seeing in China, and therefore it is for that reason that companies like Tesla are still selling quite a lot there in the US, because I mean, Lucid is not selling that much, Rivian is not selling that much, which therefore Tesla, it's for that reason that they are still doing exceptionally well. But I can tell you that once the policies are eased on Chinese EV makers, then obviously we're going to see most Chinese EV makers going to easily flood the US markets and make the competition there to be fierce, like what we are seeing in the Chinese EV market. So I'm happy about this, and I look forward to the outcomes of the elections, as that will unlock a massive catalyst for NIO penetrating the US market. I mean, as it stands sales-wise, you'll know that over 97% of the NIO's current sales, they are generating their sales in China. Europe is not even constituting that much in terms of sales, as NIO on average, they are selling like 300 units in Europe, which performance-wise, it's not that good, but of course, with the sub-brands coming, I think their improvement should also come, especially with Firefly, which is the cheapest EV that NIO will be selling under their sub-brand, which will be great as that will unlock so many deliveries. I mean, NIO in Europe, they say that for them to build a plant or a factory in Europe, they need to be selling at least 5,000, which I think it would be very easy for NIO to sell 5,000 in the US once they have their own factory, which I think they can take that risk of building a factory before they start selling in the US, because I know for a fact that NIO is going to do absolutely well, because there are so many US NIO's potential customers who are just waiting for NIO to come to the US. I mean, even on this channel, I've received quite a number of comments from people in the US indicating or asking, when do I think that China is going to penetrate the US, because they cannot wait to get their hands onto the NIO cars. So 5,000, I think it should be easy, and the NIO should even take a risk to make sure that they start building the plant or the factory under the Trump's administration, or should Trump administration, when they should immediately start with plans of building a plant or getting a plant in the US, so that they can start, of course, producing and delivering their cars in the US. Look forward, and I think 5,000 should be easier for NIO to get than it is in Europe. So US potentially it's even way more than Europe, which I think it's gonna come very soon under the Trump administration. So I look forward, and I think these are good news, which makes me to be really excited, and are the ones that made me to do this video, to tell you that if should Trump or should Mr. Trump win the elections, then chances are in a space of 2 years we might see NIO starting selling their cars in the US, which is something that not only the US NIO potential customers are waiting for, but also us investors. We want NIO to penetrate the US, because we know the potential that NIO has in the US EV market. So I look forward to that, and I thought I gave you this quick update. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell, so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, I remain long and strong onto the NIO stock, and I think sooner or later NIO is going to penetrate the US market. Yes, it might be difficult now, but should Mr. Trump win the elections, I'm telling you, it's going to be much easier than what it is at the moment, and that will result in NIO starting to sell tons and tons of cars also in the US. Otherwise, do your own due diligence before you buy this stock, as it can be quite volatile. I mean, though we give you this kind of content for you to be comfortable, you need to also just go double check and do some due diligence onto the stock, so that you don't get to panic sell when you see sharp falls, sharp drops onto this stock. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.